Hi everyone, I'm Cindy Lovell and I am here at the end of reading The Adventures of Tom Sawyer to just say a few words. I have to say it's been a lot of fun reading my favorite childhood book along with so many friends from around the world, new friends that I've made through Laconia Reads. It's been a wonderful project and I'm really grateful to Elizabeth Howard for inviting me to join in on the fun. I hope that for many of you this was your first time reading Tom Sawyer, but I hope it won't be your last. When you get to the end of the book, and Mark Twain writes, "So endeth this chronicle," it being the story of a boy, it kind of hits you. At least it hit me when I read it in the fourth grade, and I thought, "Oh no, it's over, it's over," and they just found the gold, and there's so much more adventure. Why is it ending? And I was really sad that it ended. I moped around the house a few days. Ultimately, I went back to chapter 1 and started all over again. And I've pretty much been rereading Tom Sawyer since the fourth grade. So thank you, Mr. Ronald E. Reese of Newberry Elementary. Without him, I would have maybe never encountered the book. So he read us the whitewashing chapter and got us hooked. I didn't learn until the seventh grade when I asked the librarian at my junior high school if this guy, Mark Twain, had ever written any other books. And I know you might chuckle when you hear me say that, but you just don't know at that point. I didn't know who Mark Twain was, just some guy. And of course, I came to learn there are many more books, but particularly there are sequels to The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. Of course, the most famous is Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Mark Twain's publishing company published that book in 1885. And it, of course, is a first-person account by Huckleberry Finn and completely different from Tom Sawyer. It's a real powerful book. Gosh, we could talk about that book for days, months, years. It's a powerful read, forces you to feel very uncomfortable and think about a lot of very serious issues. Not anything like Tom Sawyer, really. Twain's beautiful language and so forth, but written in Huckleberry's voice makes it so lyrical and beautiful. So Huckleberry Finn, of course, is the big one. But after that was published, Mark Twain also wrote two other sequels. Now, the first one was published in 1894. This was called Tom Sawyer Abroad. And Tom Sawyer Abroad, told by Huck Finn, is about Tom and Huck and Jim going to St. Louis and climbing inside a hot air balloon and taking off. It's wonderful. They end up in the Holy Land. There's so much to say about this book. It's fun. It's one of the most quoted books by Mark Twain. In fact, one of my favorite quotes, and of course it's Huckleberry Finn saying this, he says, "I have found out there ain't no surer way to find out whether you like people or hate them than to travel with them." Well, we've never been on a family vacation all crammed inside a station wagon or a minivan. We can relate. Huckleberry Finn was right. That's a fun book. 2 years after that, in 1896, Mark Twain published Tom Sawyer Detective, also told by Huckleberry Finn. This is another very good book. It's got a murder mystery. It's a lot of adventure. Really good read, one of my favorites. And then he was actually working on another sequel called Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn Among the Indians, where he had taken the boys out west. He never finished that book. Although Life magazine in 1968 published the incomplete manuscript so that at least people could read it, think about it and sort of ponder what Mark Twain may have written. Of course, he wrote many other books, but if you really enjoyed Tom Sawyer, then I would encourage you to pick up these other books and give them a look. The other thing, of course, is the power of place. We got to see the Toms and Beckys of Hannibal, showing parts of the city that are still very much as they were when Sam Clemens grew up there. And I encourage everyone to go and visit these places. I'm really grateful to the Mark Twain Boyhood Home Museum and the Tom and Becky program for sharing so many fun little videos. Faye Dant at Jim's Journey, the Huck Finn Freedom Center, and the Mark Twain House Museum in Hartford, Connecticut. These places are all extremely special, and whether you're seeing the setting of the novel of Tom Sawyer and Hannibal, or seeing the house where Mark Twain lived with his family when he would be telling these stories to his daughters and reading parts of the manuscript to them. They're all very special. Another place I encourage people to visit is Elmira, New York. Elmira College, where Mark Twain's wife, Olivia Langdon, attended, is the site of the Center for Mark Twain Studies. And the college is very fortunate to have on its campus the octagonal study where Mark Twain did much of his writing. The study was originally located at Quarry Farm. His sister-in-law had it built for him there. And you can drive by the farm and see it from the road. It's still owned by the college and preserved for Mark Twain scholars to use. And but the study itself is open to the public. It's on the college campus. It's really worth the trip if you're anywhere near Elmira, New York. You can also go to the Elmira Cemetery, which is where Sam Clemens is buried, along with Olivia Langdon Clemens, his wife, their children, and so on. So these are special places, and I encourage you to visit them. Some wonderful websites. If you really have sort of gotten a taste for Twain, I encourage you, of course, to visit marktwainproject.org. This is the Mark Twain Papers and Project at the Bancroft Library at University of California, Berkeley. The most amazing repository of his letters and his works, and the scholarly work that they produce is incomparable. You can find anything. You can go in and, I warn you, you go in into the letters and look for any kind of a term, whatever you're curious about, and you will find yourself down the most wonderful rabbit hole reading Mark Twain's letters and seeing sometimes where he sketched in the letters and drew little pictures and sent them home. Just wonderful research is available to you there just to enjoy. You don't have to be doing anything scholarly with it. Just go and enjoy it. It's wonderful to read. They, of course, have published the 3 volumes of Mark Twain's autobiography. Another website, twainquotes.com. If you look on the internet at all, you will see that Mark Twain is the most quoted American author, hands down, which means he's also the most misquoted American author. And oh my goodness, some of the stuff you see out there that Mark Twain supposedly said, you just roll your eyes. But twainquotes.com is a site that verifies every single quote before they publish it. Best of all, it's organized by topic. So suppose you want to punch up a letter you're writing or a topic for school that you're working on. You can go in, look up the topics and see what Mark Twain had to say about it and be sure that you're getting an authentic Mark Twain quote. So that's a really useful site. I could go on and on. Mark Twain's my favorite subject, and it's dangerous to get me started. I love him so much. I love the writings that he produced. I began as a fan in the 4th grade, reading The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. Didn't know anything about this particular person, but would later learn all about him and come to love him even more than I love his writing. So I encourage you to keep making friends with Mark Twain, keep reading him. And again, I want to thank everyone in Laconia for inviting me to be a part of this. I hope that everybody, even though the chronicle hath ended, everybody sort of thinks about, maybe I do want to reread it someday. It's even more fun the 2nd and 3rd and 30th time around. It's a wonderful book. So thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoy the rest of your summer and have lots of adventures.